Hello everyone, this is Chaff Commander Coffee playing Dominions4, Thrones of Ascension. This is going to be where I look over my unit roster for my random nation of Saltnohamn, nation of forest goblins and austral humans. It's going to be interesting. In the beginning there was chaos. Now the wheel has turned once again. And you can pause the video to read those if you want, but they show up at the start of every game. Just give a little background on Dominions4, the history. Right, so this is the map of Valanis. And we have started in quite a central location. Quite central. Not as central as this island over here, but quite central. It appears we are fairly close to the underground. I'm not sure if goblins, they don't appear to have dark vision. No, we'll go over that in a moment. But we're quite close to the underground. This is one of the passageways into the underground. There's also another one over here, another one over here, as well as from the water. But this is a very big gateway. In fact, this is quite a good place for a castle. But if I want to take the underground, I wouldn't want to build a castle there. I'd want to build it here on this throne. I'm going into the map a bit too much. Anyway, this is where we are. This is what we need to focus on. We have our Dragon God Pretender, Solve. He has 10 Fear and 3 Awe, so he should be fine to expand with, turn 1. And we also have some Goblins. Let's go over our unit tree. But one thing that's important to consider before we go into our unit tree is this. Our capital building. Every nation in the game will have capital buildings. NationGen is no exception. It randomly generates capital buildings. We have the Hill of Fire. Enables the recruitment of Shadow Sentinels. I'm not quite sure what that is going to be in our roster. I assume some kind of stealthy unit. Maybe a guard? We'll find out. You can enter it for combat training, which that could come in useful. I can have one character training here every turn. It might be a good idea to train my thugs up. I think if they enter for one turn, they'll at least hit experience 1. Which is a nice boost to their combat stats. So if I train any thugs from the capital, or if I summon and then promote thugs to commanders using my blood magic, I might use this to combat train them a few times, make them a bit more effective. It also produces 4 fire gems and 2 earth gems, which is 4 fire gems is going to be quite hard to spend. Might have to get construction 2 quite early on to build jars of fire. And if we have 3 earth, then, or if we have earth mages, then we can use these earth gems to make dwarven hammers. And we can start factory producing jars of fire to make my fire mages a bit more useful. Alright, anyway, that's perhaps for another episode. Let's look at our unit roster. Interesting at first glance. Pretty interesting. Let's go over it one by one. We have our basic scouts. Pretty damn cheap. They have, it doesn't really matter what gear they have, they're a scout. They have stealthy 50. I think that's 5 points higher than a standard scout. Maybe the goblins are slightly more stealthy than standard units. Or, yeah, I would assume so. Mountain survival and forest survival. I think all of the goblins get forest survival. Well, this commander's got wasteland survival. Let me just check. Yeah, it seems like all of the goblins have got forest survival. Well, that's useful. Forest survival is certainly a useful skill. We have our elite high chieftains. They have a leadership of 40. They can command 10 undead or 10 magic beings with no morale bonuses or 2 squads. I mean, they can lead magic beings, so they're slightly better than standard independent commanders, but I mean, they're just goblins. So, although, it might be because they're a commander, they have quite high magic resistance, but we'll find out in a moment. They have wasteland survival as well. I don't think all of my goblins have that. It might just be a particular type of goblin unit that I have. We have our swords masters. They're a bit cheaper. They have the same leadership value. They don't have wasteland survival, so I think, yeah, it's probably a special unit of goblin that I have that has wasteland survival. These are, again, very basic commanders. I have acolytes, level 1 priests, who have a slap attack. This is the same attack that earth gnomes have, which shrinks your opponent. I'm not sure how useful that's going to be on a priest, but if someone tries to assassinate them and they shrink them, I'm not really complaining. We have our high priestesses. They are level 2 priests, and they're inquisitors, so they're very efficient at preaching against other faiths. So they'll be level 4 when preaching against evil gods' dominions, even though we are a fire blood god, so we're not really that good ourselves, but whatever. Everyone else is the evil god, we're the only true god. We have our inferior Sun Pontifex. These are our lowest level mages. They are pygmies, so they are tiny and very weak. But they are Blood 1 mages, and they're very cheap. So these are going to probably be my mainstay recruiters, and I can use them for Blood Sabbaths. I think Sabbaths are probably going to be quite important with this team because, oh yes, these are so cheap. They're so cheap. Blood Sabbaths. These are our 2nd level wizards. The Sun Pontifex. They have some interesting stats. They have 1 fire magic, which is a bit low, but I suppose Sabbaths can improve their power. Blood 2 makes them quite good blood hunters, actually. Priest level 1. With a Sabbath, that actually means I can boost them to Priest level 3, so if I ever need a Priest level 3 to bless all of my sacred units, I can just Sabbath one of these guys up, and it should work. I'm pretty sure that works. They're quite expensive with 260 gold, but they have Invulnerable 5. I'm not sure how useful Invulnerable 5 is going to be on a pygmy, but it's probably better than nothing, I suppose. And they might be able to survive 1 extra arrow by having Invulnerable 5, maybe. They are fire resistant due to the fire magic. They are flying, because they're flying on these beast bats. Flying wizards is very useful. Very, very useful. The fact that my main battle mage is going to be flying is actually very, very handy. And any devils that they summon and command, they can command 10 demons. Devils are flying as well. Not all of the demons are flying, but there are flying demons, and they can fly around with them to make, like, Sabbath strike forces, I suppose. Like a blood Sabbath of perhaps, like, 3 of these guys flying in with 30 demons. It's pretty scary, especially if they cast the blood spell to boost all the demons' strength, and the demons fly in and kill all your commanders. That's quite scary, actually. I might have to do that. And then we have our highest level wizards, the Paramount Sun Pontifex, which have 2 fire magic, 1 earth magic, and 2 blood magic. They're also level 2 mages. They have a random as fire, water, earth, or blood. Water appears to be our weakest magic school, with earth being our 2nd weakest. Blood is our strongest, with fire coming in 2nd. So we mostly blood magic. 1 water magic is enough though. With high levels of construction, 1 water magic can become 2 water magic and is much more useful then. Earth magic 1. Randoming one of these guys is going to be important for building earth boots and then building dwarven hammers, as well as just general earth buffs. So I will need to train a few of these to be able to get an earth 2 mage. These are also flying due to the bats. They are old age, 68. Now this would normally be a problem. A very big problem, because they would get afflictions almost immediately and start dying. But we're a blood nation, so we can make Boots of Youth, and we can cast Rejuvenate, and basically make them younger. So yes, we can fix the one problem that we have with our high level wizards. One thing I need to check actually, a hill of fire. It appears that our wizards, all of our wizards and commanders, we can recruit anywhere. So these are recruit anywhere, slow to recruit, level 5 wizards, level 6 wizards actually, yes. Level 6 wizards I can recruit anywhere, and they're level 2 priests. That is very useful. These have a lot of utility. Once I can reliably recruit them and keep them alive, they have a lot of utility. They won't come into play until later on, though. I think I may have to focus on just training these basic wizards. The one fire magic makes it a bit problematic to use them in combat. I suppose they could spam Blood Boil early on in the game. It's not a complete waste of their time. Blood Boil is an alright spell. Or they can cast Agony if I get level 3 Blood Magic, or whatever circle that's on. Right. Well, aside from our commanders being quite low on their leadership, I'm gonna have to find a way to fix that, because goblins, yeah. Let's go over our goblins, but I think we're gonna have to play a horde strategy. A horde strategy supported by, like, powerful demons. It's quite cool, though. It sounds like a cool aspect for a team. But they are goblins, and they do appear to be quite weak. But let's look at our units for sure, just to be on the safe side. Saltnohamn hunters. They're just goblin archers with small bows, but we have another kind of ranger or hunter. And these ones have short bows. Hey, short bows are good. I mean, for a goblin, I mean, short bows must be like long bows for goblins. They're only size 1. They cost the same amount of resources. Just there doesn't seem to be any reason to take the small bow over the short bow. See, if the small bow, it has lower range, lower damage, and lower ammunition. And they're only wielding daggers, so I don't want them to get into melee combat. If the small bow was like, if these guys were like 1 resource or 2 resources, I would totally reconsider training them. But given that they cost the same, I'll just get the ones with short bows. Oh well. Saltnohamn elite skirmishers. Now, because they're elite, I think they'll have higher than average combat stats, so I'm going to take a look at one of the other goblins. Alright, for example, one of these... the hunter might have different stats. I'm going to look at just a normal, standard goblin, just to have a look at their stats. So, yeah, the broadsword does give a +1 to their defense skill, but they lose 1 from their armor, so, yeah. These are our standard goblin stats. We actually do have very high magic resistance, which that's actually quite useful. The fact that they're size 1, they do have low hit points, but we can fit, so a square can fit 6 size worth of units. So I can fit 6 goblins in a square, which actually has very various tactical advantages. I won't go into all of them, I might explain them as you see them in action, but yes. Lower than average strength. But they have average human attack and defense skills. And slightly lower than average morale, but it's to be expected of goblins. They are very cheap though. So these are our swordsmen. We have our elite spearmen. Elite spearmen with iron caps. Wow, they actually have good head armor. They won't get killed with random arrows, hopefully. They have higher than average attack skill, higher than average defense skill, higher than average precision, which we won't make use of because they're not archers. But they also have 10 morale. And they cost 2 more gold than the other goblins, but they cost the same amount of resources, so I'm going to probably train quite a lot of these guys, maybe to make a spear wall. Our goblin spear wall's not going to be very good, but... oh well, let's keep going. Saltnohamn javelin throwers. They don't throw their javelins very far or do very much damage because their strength is quite low. But a line of javelin throwers is never a bad thing. Soften your opponent's ranks up before you engage, and they're very cheap. Only 4 resources. Our spear warriors are actually armed with small bows. So this is a useful example of the small bow because I can have my spearmen set to hold an attack. They will fire 2 volleys of arrows and then engage in melee combat. So, yeah. Or, when they run out of ammunition, they all run out of ammunition before the short bowmen, these hunters. So I can have a line of these goblin spearmen in front of the archers to protect them from cavalry or flanking, and then once they run out of ammunition, they'll engage in melee anyway. So that will be useful. I will probably end up training some of these. And then our broadsword wielding goblins. I think the broadsword is like a two-handed sword for the goblins because they're only size 1. It does look like it. So these are like our great swordsmen, if you will. Goblin great swordsmen. Wow, they're really not that impressive. I mean, they do have a lot higher damage than any of my other units, but it's only really useful against non-armoured characters because they don't hit very hard. I might mix some of the swordsmen in with my spearmen just to give the spearmen a bit more punch with their attacks. That might be a good idea. But speaking about adding some punch to our attacks, although our mages may be pygmies, it appears we have some Austral human colossi, and these guys are much better. Oh yes, 22 hit points. They've got the same magic resistance, 12 magic resistance, 14 morale, which is a very solid morale. They're a bit expensive, but definitely much better than goblins. 15 strength, 12 attack, 12 defense. I think that's their base attack and defense. 11 precision. Their armor is letting them down, but thankfully they have a lot of hit points. So if I filter these Colossi warriors in with the goblins should take most of the hits for them, and then the Colossi could just tear through. I mean, humans, these guys are what? They're size 3, so 1 giant and 3 goblins in 1 square. But these Colossi axe warriors, they can stand toe-to-toe with cavalry. They can probably stand toe-to-toe with other giants as well. It's just the protection that lets them down. But once I get some earth boots on my wizards, my higher level wizards here, once I get some earth boots and some earth power, so I cast earth power in combat, they can cast iron skin on my colossi, and then they'll be dangerous. Oh yes, because they will be very low encumbrance, 20 protection colossi axemen. They will be very scary. But that's for much later on. Early on in the game, I probably will use these. The high hit points makes up for the low protection, and with the goblins to chaff up in front of them, they should do a respectable job. They're quite expensive, so maybe I won't get too many of them. But we have the Colossi Spear Javelineers. They throw their javelins a range of 15, which is fairly solid, but that's because their strength is quite good. Very solid. In fact, if I was to boost these guys' strength, like with a spell like Earth Might boosts a number of soldiers' strength by 4, I think. And then these guys with their javelins would throw them as far as these guys could shoot their arrows, so I could mix a line of these spearmen with these javelineers and make a fairly solid front line that can perhaps be set to hold an attack, so they fire 2 volleys of ranged weaponry and then they engage in melee combat. That could be quite effective. Or I could have a line of these guys in front of a line of these spearmen, and then these spearmen will filter into their ranks once they've finished firing their 2 volleys of arrows. Both ways could be quite effective, but these guys have the Great Hide Shield. It makes up for their low protection is made up for the fact that they have this shield. It will help them survive a fair bit longer than the Colossi Axemen. I might end up using the Colossi Axemen like cavalry, as in I'll put them on my flanks, put some wizards close to them to buff them, and then just set them to attack the enemy's rearmost units. That might be how I use them. And then I use these spearmen and filter them into the front line just to bulk up the goblins. That seems like a good idea. We also have Moose Riders, which I'm pretty sure these are straight from the Jotunheim unit roster. Very cheap resources. They cost a lot of gold, look more than the Colossi. They do have 2 bows though, so it's effectively like training 2 archers. So instead of training 2 of these hunters, I could train 1 of these Moose Riders who have, well, they definitely have more than double their hit points. But for example, if I was to train 1 of these for every 3 archers, it's the same amount of gold, slightly more resource intensive for the archers. I get 3 short bows with these guys. I get 2 with one of these, but these are much, got many more hit points. So they won't die so fast. And they can also fight in melee, like the moose is pretty scary in melee. It's got 16 strength. It will kill most human infantry. It's not brilliant in melee combat with only an attack skill of 9 and 8. And a defense skill of 9. And, oh, they have a precision of 8. These guys are not very accurate. Their morale's quite low as well. They are an animal, so if I can somehow summon or get a commander with Beast Master, then they would be a lot better. Most Beastmaster commanders are under nature though, but nature magic's quite easy to get access to, so I might end up being able to make good use of these. They only have a magic resistance of 5 though. Ugh. Oh, they will die very quickly to spells, and because of their high hit points, they will be targeted by spellcasters first. Or at least they will have a higher priority to be targeted. I think they're perhaps a bit too expensive for me to consider in the early game, but perhaps when I get a Beastmaster Commander up, they might come in more useful. We'll see, we'll see. They are my only cavalry, but I don't really want to use them to charge enemies because their combat skills are very low. If I could give them trample and then enlarge them, they would be a lot better. I could make them like pseudo war elephants. We'll see. Definitely something to look at. And these are the Shadow Sentinels. These are my sacred units. They're very cheap. Slightly higher than average attack and defense skills. Yeah, they have 12 defense skill. 11 precision. They have the same average strength as the Vaetti, the other Vaetti goblins. Only 8 protection, which is a bit weak. Their defense skill, their attack skill will actually be 13 with my bless. They're ambidextrous. They dual wield maces. Flaming weapons may have actually made these guys pretty powerful just because they have 2 attacks, but increasing their attack skill means that they should be able to output quite a lot of damage still. They have 5 fire resistance, which is useful considering that I have fire magic as one of my major magic schools. We can quite carelessly shoot fire magic spells into these guys and they should be fine, or at least they'll take less damage from the fire. They're stealthy. I think all the goblins are stealthy actually, that's something I should have mentioned. Yes, the goblins are stealthy, the colossi are not. But the colossi do have forest survival, so my entire army has forest survival. That is very useful. It's very, very useful. Anyway, back to the Shadow Sentinel. They have Strength of Spring. Now, TNG's sacred units in the early age have Strength of Spring, which increases their hit points during spring, and their hit points will be reduced during autumn. So during spring, these guys are very comparable to human units. Aside from the slightly lower strength, and their protection being pretty awful, but they're goblins, they're more comparable to humans. 15 gold, 3 resources. I think I will train them just because the dual wielding makes them fairly effective damage dealers. Like if they are filtered in with the spearmen, again, just like the colossi, they're going to be fairly solid damage dealers. So yeah, I will be training these for sure. Well, this is my unit roster. A quick summary. So we have fairly poor leadership commanders. I'm going to need to find some way of fixing that because I think the overall strategy is going to be horde mode. The goblins are cheap, they're small, you can put loads of them on the battlefield. We have growth, so we should have high supplies. I think horde mode is the way to go. And demons don't... Some demons will have gluttonous, but other demons don't eat, so we can pull some demons along with our army, and they won't affect our army size in terms of supplies. And they will also be able to bolster the very weak goblin units. The colossi I'm impressed by. Like, whilst their armor is weak, that can be fixed with spells, and as a basis, they're quite powerful. They're quite powerful. They look powerful compared to the goblins, who are obviously less than average. These I don't know. I don't know what to expect with a team that's mostly reliant on goblins. I'm getting the tendency to think I should train a lot of archers and play a bit more like Jomon, or not Jomon, Yomi, with all their Bakemono archers. Yes. Alright then, well that's the roster. Hope you enjoyed the video. It is just going over my team. Next episode I will be playing the first, I'm going to be playing in seasons. So my first episode will, they're probably going to be between 15 and 30 minutes long, playing a season. Yeah, sounds about right. I will be watching the battles and going over all of the random events and messages and such. I won't skip anything. So yeah, looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are as well. We will be playing Saltnohamn on a 11 difficult AI Valanus map with RandomNationGen. I don't know what I'm going to go up against. Should be good. It's going to be good fun. It will be good fun. See you next time.